nail biting moment. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Meme after meme is like, you're fired.
여러분 안녕하세요, 클레어입니다. 네, 여러분 제가 채널 이름을 모던서울리뷰로 메인을 바꿨어요. 눈치채신 분들이 있겠지만 네, 원래는 제가 클레어의 잘 고른 영어 뉴스 해가지고 잘고뉴로 외신을 주로 소개하는 그런 컨셉이었는데 아무래도 코로나 이후로 진짜 좀 참신한 이야기들이 많이 떨어지고 그리고 미국 대선이 드디어 끝이 났는데 아직 완전히 끝낸 건 아니지만 네. 아무래도 그 외신 소스들이 좀 제한적이다 보니까 채널이 힘도 좀 잃어가는 것 같고 재미도 잃어가는 것 같고 계속 같은 좋은 컨텐츠를 발굴하기 굉장히 힘들더라고요. 그래서 제가 기존에 지금 한국에서 제일 핫한 이슈, 지금의 서울을 살아가고 있는 워킹맘으로서 살면서 또 한국에서 제일 핫한 이슈들을 영어로도 소개하고 한국어로도 소개했던 모던서울리뷰, 또 무엇보다 코트니, 저의 소울메이트인 코트니랑 재밌는 컨텐츠들을 많이 찍었었는데 코트니랑 다시 짬나는 대로, 코트니가 바빠졌지만 짬나는 대로 같이 또 재밌는 얘기들을 많이 해보려고 합니다. 그래서 오늘 코트니 컴백 첫 번째 영상은 바로 미 대선. 한국에서 투표한 코트니는 이 길고 긴 대장정을 어떻게 맞이했는지, 또 지금 심정은 어떤지, 또 우리가 제일 궁금해했던 미국 대선 왜 이렇게 복잡한가 그런 거에 대한 이런저런 이야기, 지금의 심경, 또 앞으로 바라는 점, 뭐 이런 것들을 코트니와 만나진 못하고 줌으로 진행을 했어요. 그래서 줌 화면을 여러분에게 보여드릴 텐데 그 점 양해 부탁드리고 앞으로 모던서울 리뷰 많은 응원과 또 댓글 관심 부탁드립니다. 자, 그럼 미국 대선 두둥.
I mean, again, congratulations on your every nightmares. Oh my god. Okay, how are you feeling? And then how about your families and friends out there? You know, you guys are talking about the result and celebrations.
Yes, it was quite the experience, I have to say. So usually everything is determined on November 3rd. When the election, we usually hear by that night. So this, of course, was a very special case where people did a lot of absentee ballots, mail-in ballots, and the Postal Service was kind of just overwhelmed by that, as well as each state, and so they were just overwhelmed, and I think that's why it took so long. And it was also so close. Like it was just absolutely nerve-wracking. I remember, oh my gosh, I remember the next day, because of course we're ahead, so I'm following it, and it's just Trump is leading. You start seeing like red. Of course, Central America is always usually
Yeah.
But it was like so close, specifically with me being from Texas, like it was so close at one point. And I'm convinced Texas will turn blue Democrat. If not next election, then the following election, for sure. We were so close, like in the Senate race, like 2 years ago, and it was really definitely narrower margin this year.
Oh yeah.
So that whole process was stressful, anxiety-inducing, nerve-wracking. I think all my friends back home can agree. It was just absolutely nuts, and it was them 24/7. I know some of my friends like couldn't work because they just it was just like, what is going to happen? And of course now it's like everyone can breathe like a sigh of relief, but there is so much more work to be done. And of course Donald Trump is contesting everything, which he's never lost anything. So this is like gonna come as a shock. It's funny, a lot of people were saying like, he used to, of course, host The Apprentice, like a show in like the
You're fired?
Yes, and now everyone is like, meme after meme is like, you're fired.
You're fired.
Like,
I thought about you. You're living in Seoul right now, but you casted your ballot, your important, precious ballot by mail. And I'm proud. I'm really proud of you that you did, even the 1,000 miles away. But how are you? How are you feeling that you've experienced the whole things, whole drama, and then this things in Korea, not a hometown?
I think I was able to cope a lot better than my friends back home because we're able to live like a somewhat fairly normal life. Versus in Texas, everyone is still working from home.
Oh, I see.
Not going out or gathering in any sort of groups. Because COVID is like really bad over there. And so it isn't under control as it is here. And so being here, I think, was good in a way to where I was constantly bombarded with that news as I would be back home. And what's interesting is that like I voted, and we make it extremely hard to vote because actually most expats are very liberal. So majority I think would vote Democrat, but we make this process so hard. So for instance, Australians, they can vote, they have to vote, otherwise they get fined, and they can vote at their embassy if they're not in Australia, which I think makes perfect sense. Like they should have done that where we vote at each embassy. I think that process would make everyone more inclined to go.
Yeah.
But for me, I had to take a day off from work, go down to the embassy, because for Texas, we had to like postmark our ballots by like October. And so I go down on October 5th. I fill out the ballot there. You could also, I think, like mail it into the embassy.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's just a whole like time consuming, really.
Yeah.
Oh, it's complicated. I have to say, I don't think more than half of Americans really know how it works. It's such kind of an ancient, outdated method because of it's of course divided up by land and versus like people. It's really confusing, and especially what we call like swing states in this election. There's an amount of states that can easily go both ways, but really pull a lot of weight. Therein lies a lot of, I think, kind of confusion on why certain states are like this, and it's a very kind of like muddled type of history, and unfortunately I think the reform for electoral college Congress, a majority like led one party kind of led Congress, and I think a lot of people don't want to touch that. Like it's just a really like sensitive topic, and I think Republicans really kind of sway more towards electoral college. Well, Republicans in general actually do not want people to vote. Like that is kind of one of the interesting psyches of Republicans, is that there's a lot of gerrymandering, disenfranchisement, and so that's kind of just one of electoral college, I feel, is just something that is part of the kind of broken system that
right.
So hard.
I totally agree with you. That will be so sensitive and so complicated to tear down whole system in a one day, and then the thing is, the Republicans and Democrat Party, they are not. I'm not sure. That's not gonna be happening soon. Even Biden, we see that Biden got power from that system now.
Yep.
So maybe we're
Yeah.
gonna deny that.
And I mean, what's interesting is we also have the popular vote. So, and for instance, last election in 2016, Hillary Clinton won the popular vote. So popular vote is based on the people voting and the tally of that, like not anything based on the electoral college. So it's separate. That's a popular vote, like popularity vote is the best way to put it. And that's something that's really unique, is that we do not go by the popular vote. It is by the electoral college vote. And this, actually, I think this was the first time in a quarter century that a president hasn't gotten a second term. So Donald Trump is
that's I heard.
Yeah. And what was interesting about that is, of course, because Biden won the electoral college vote and the popular vote as well. So there is kind of a undisputed fact that he is president.
Oh my God, 2020 is really something for everyone, but I think Americans, it's gonna be really special year forever. I mean, that'll be really, oh gosh, that's
going down in the history books. That
definitely.
Oh, and I was gonna say, I mean, technically we're not even done with it yet. So like that's the nutty part, is like, so there was no clear like majority in Georgia. And now it's like we could breathe a sigh of relief with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris being elected, and which Kamala Harris, like, first Madam Vice President.
And also the first
phenomenal.
African American.
First Asian, she's Asian American. Female, like, I think, oh my gosh, it's just such a good feeling in that way. But next, now that we could finally just celebrate that, but the most, I think, integral and important part of this election is for Democrats to recontrol the Senate. And that is now all going to fall on Georgia's runoff. I believe there's two that they're going to be doing, and they're sending out the ballots, and then I don't think we're going to hear any results until next year, I believe. That's when, because they're going to give people time to vote, and especially like mail-in ballots, which I'm sure a lot of people will do. So it's almost like the whole process over again in a way, but yeah.
So complicated.
It's so complicated, but this, I think, is the most important part. If Democrats can re-control the Senate, then Democrats will have control of both the House, and makes it easier, of course, to pass like legislation and laws.
It's we call that as a half a victory, and then it's gonna be really hard for Joe Biden, president-elect, whatever he tries to do something for the nation, but the Senate and the House, if they oppose, then
that happened to, I believe, Obama's second term. Was Republicans had control of the Senate, I believe.
I was confused by the Electoral College, the rule of election, which is going to decide who is going to be winner. Then what about the popular vote? It doesn't matter how many votes they gained. I mean, it has no power to decide on the winner. Only Electoral College numbers matter?
Yes.
Oh my God. What does the popular vote mean in the end? That's
a great question. I think that is a great question. it's nothing. So there is like we just get the benefit of seeing like how many people voted for each candidate. So we get a more, I think, clear understanding, like numbers wise, versus in an electoral vote, it's kind of just like Texas like brings, I can't remember if we bring like 27 electoral votes, something in that kind of, but you don't really get to see out of that population, like who voted for, how many people voted for Biden and Trump, and kind of versus like counties. So we have.
So it's gonna be kind of a political map of kind of the standard of polling, right? The status of the ultimate polling of political perspectives or their popularity, kind of, right? Oh, that's so shocking. I mean, most Korean people are so shocked that maybe that's the first time to study electoral college.